Excellent. Welcome to week 5, as always. Definitely good to have you guys here, and we'll dive right in. We'll make it nice. It'll be fun. So, as always, we have our focus for the week, right? Now, this week's big focus is marketing. Now, marketing has a lot of different angles, and notice we talked about sales and biz dev last week because that's what you have to do first. Those are the first conversations. Those are everything from validation to the first case studies to the first whatever. It starts with that conversation generally. There are some people, of course, that can go straight to marketing and have tons of success. It's not everybody, right? And some people are building their business on the back of historically successful marketing or customer acquisition. You have all these users. Now to make sure we're offering them something that they want in a way that's digestible and then keep carrying it forward. Perfect. So you've seen this slide before, so we're only going to touch on it for a second, but again, it's kind of to set the stage. So we talk about 3 different areas, right? Sales, marketing, and biz dev. Now we're leaning in on the marketing side. Now, I refer to it like this because it's easy for me to just think through quickly, but I always think of the first 2 first and marketing as a support, even if it's consumer, because you have to start with a case study. How many times have you seen a consumer ad marketed with 10 testimonials? Well, how'd they get those testimonials? It's because they went and got those customers first, whether it was through marketing before, whether it was through sales and biz dev, referrals. They went and got them, showed the value, proved it, and then marketed that scale, that thing that's worth converting on behalf of to the broader audience, and we're able to capture more. This is like the quintessential sale, where someone spots a problem or you see that something has worked for somebody else and you go, maybe it could work for me. Doesn't sound that complicated, but sales is really hard. If it was that easy, everybody would have sales and revenue to start. But no, it's easy when the process is tried and true for years and years. For example, you walk through the mall and somebody sells lotion, right? It's because they've walked and seen 1,000 people walk by and go, hey, you look like a guy that probably suffers from dry hands. I know I always do in the winter. And some dude says yes, right? Well, it's not because he's a genius. It's because he tried 1,000 different lines, but 2, he's tried 1,000 different customers where it's like, I've tried 10 different versions of you, and this line may not work, but it probably works better than the other lines I've tried, and a customer popped out. It's not because the product's incredible. It's not because of the best sales process in the world. Sometimes it just happens and just works very smoothly. And this is, again, an important piece. Watch yourself during your life, during your sales process. What did you think about? What did you need to spend the next dollar besides food? Like the electronic decisions, the trip decisions, what were the things that came to mind? This is a good way to view yourself as your own customer and get in that mindset. Yeah, we've seen this before. This is just a reminder who we're talking about, the early adopters, right? Because the question on marketing is, how do I market to everybody effectively? It's like, well, we're not. We're trying to market to the people that want it first, because we can get to everybody once we have funding and budget and revenue and all this stuff. But right now, we need users. We need engagement. We need activation. And why would I have you go to the market where you have to talk to 1,000 people to get 10 that are successful right now, instead of go to the market where you talk to 100 and 50 are successful? Because your hit rate is so much higher, even if the number of people that you're talking to is far lower. Now, here's the crux of it. There's really 2 sides to all things marketing, and you can subdivide it. You can do what you want, but again, let's keep it simple. There's brand marketing and performance marketing. Brand marketing, pretty clear. It's about building your brand. It's not about automatically getting customers. It's not about automatically tracking return on ad spend or anything like that. It's everything from the colors, the logos, the visual identity, the storytelling that you do about why your business exists and why it's, for example, named what it's named, right? All of these types of things that speak to your brand. There's a lot of cookie companies out there. There's a lot of chicken companies out there. There's a lot of whatever, insert generic thing. But you have a preference. Why? Is it because it's that much better? Is it because the marketing is that much better? Is it because you just have a personal affinity to it? Notice there's some brand allegiance in there. Think of your car. Think of how people talk about their cars or their teams or whatever it might be. The second side is performance. This is the part where it's all about, again, respectfully, how did we perform? Did we get customers? Did we get users? Did we get engagement? But notice, I'm not just defining performance as revenue. Performance is performance. It's something that can be tracked, that can be engaged upon, because a click can become a view can become a demo, can become a customer. But if we don't get the click, we're never going to get the customer in the first place. A lot of people fast forward, they go, why didn't we get the customer? It's like, well, no, that's the end of the funnel. What happened before? Were we hitting our mark before? Or at the very top of the lead funnel, was it wrong in the first place? So by the time you got to conversion, they weren't the right people that wanted to convert or that were primed for conversion. Again, you've talked to a customer or an investor or someone that has gotten it really easy, where you talk to them for 10 minutes and they're like, oh, I get it. It makes total sense. Did your pitch change? No. Who you were talking to changed. And again, does it mean the person you're talking to that's less excited couldn't be convinced to be a customer? No, they totally could. But why would you waste your time? There are people that want to buy what you want. In theory, that's the assumption. So you should go to the places where they're pulling it from you, not where you're having to push 1,000 ads. The idea is ads go, hey, everybody loves our baked goods. Do you guys want to try it out? And people that already want baked goods, that have already tried it, that already know the pain points or the problems or the common things that keep all the other brands okay, they go, oh, look, they're different. They're talking to me different. I should give them a try. I'm interested. An easy example of this is if you're on social media at all, look at all the different food companies that come out that are very specific. Butcher Box. It's like, oh, do you buy a bunch of meat? Why don't you start buying meat through us? More consistently, we'll do the picking for you, always guaranteeing good pieces, whatever. That's one specific area. Then there's the vegan option, then there's the chicken option, then there's the Jewish option, right, in terms of how they eat. There's every option along the thing, but it's because they found a specific audience that had demand, and they just said, if I offered you this, would you buy it? And they would, because they wanted it, and there wasn't a need, or it wasn't being met elsewhere by the market, by the competitors, etc. Performance marketing is an easy thing to lean too heavy in on, because it's something like, well, let's just start spending money and getting customers. And the question is like, it's like just pouring concrete. It's like there's some prep work you need to do before, because pouring the concrete can mean a lot and it can be a great thing to build yourself off of. But if you've done no prep, you run $1,000 in ads and they all hit a website that's broken, has typos, has no funnel, isn't proven. What if you spend $1,000 and get 0 customers? Or get worse, 0 clicks or very few likes? There are tons of people that spend a lot of money and they think it's little because it's $250 here, it's $500 there. But then 6 months later, they've spent $5,000 and they don't really have a lot of clicks or conversion and they're upset. It's like, yes, I understand. I wish we could have invested the $5,000 slower later once we were more confident, because then maybe we would have gotten conversion out of it. And even low conversion can be enough to get you excited to do more. But if you don't have the brand side, if you don't have your foundation of where a customer is going to land from all those ads, what's happening? Again, if you clicked on an ad and then you went to their page and you saw no posts, no clear language, no simple professional experience to go to a website, would you trust that brand? It's like, probably not. Whether it's LinkedIn, whether it's Google Restaurants, whether it's random B2C consumer engine, there needs to be a certain level of, we know you, we like you, we trust you. That is all built in brand marketing. So now we got to talk about the balance, right? And I hinted on this before, but here is the hesitation. It always happens. Founders want to rely very heavily on performance marketing instead of brand marketing, which can lead to one of two real options. One option is you start getting customers, then you become dependent on it. And you start thinking, I have to buy every customer. If you have to buy every customer, you're probably going to run out of money, right? Or you're going to really struggle. And also, if you have to buy every customer, why aren't your customers referring? Why aren't people that land on your website reading your blog, seeing your social, clicking your ads? Like, why aren't they referring more people or engaging more? Why isn't there this passive organic acquisition as well? Because if I can't acquire anybody organically, it does not instill me with confidence that I'm going to be able to keep them if I bought them because I paid for them, right? Because it's not just did you get them, it's did you keep them long enough to get that LTV, that lifetime value, all that revenue, all that data, all the value that you can extract from the customer. Getting a customer is only the first step. So it's one of those, even if you show me an ad set that's got, oh, we converted 30% and we did this, it's like, great, but now we got to make sure we keep them. Now let's see how those customers are. If you have a subscription basis, of course, Are they staying on? If it's a B2B, are they working themselves down the sales funnel? Have we closed them? Have we invoiced them? Have we paid them, or have they paid us? Have we thought through all the steps, right? 3 things that I think are important when you look at the whole side of whether it's brand or performance. One is unified messaging. It's very easy to go hire someone that does like paid ads, and then the ads that they run are so different to the brand aesthetic that your business has, especially more discount social media marketers or people that do like Google paid per click. And then you have this disconnect, and it doesn't seem apparent to you because you know all the ins and outs of your business. You've seen it all the different ways. So whether it's said as option A or option B, you get it. That's not your customer. Your customer doesn't know you from the man in the moon. And if they start seeing inconsistent language on the website should be language that's in the ad, or synonyms, right? Because that builds brand trust. It builds the narrative is coherent. Again, it seems less extreme, but what if you clicked on a website that was for food and you ended up on an auto website? It's like, that's very obvious that that's wrong. But your customer does that, or potential customers do that all the time, but the owner doesn't know because it's off just enough. They go, oh, this isn't for me. And it's like, no, what if it really is for them? But your messaging, your logo, your branding, how you spoke to them didn't allow them to self-identify and find it. You could be having customers land on your website and run away because there's no way for them to engage. Maybe they don't know that it's for them, right? I'm a big fan of, you should be able to find yourself as the customer on a website. Like when I go to Robinhood, it's like, are you a normal consumer that wants to get started in stock trading? It's like, oh, that's me. You mentally raise your hand. And then the rest of the website, it's kind of like, well, they are talking to me. It's like, hey, if you're Hispanic, and then again, I would just go, because no matter what they say, I've been identified, right? It's just your ears pull you towards it. Same thing happens. And if you don't believe me, go scroll the internet later. Scroll, and like I said, watch what stops you. And I guarantee something's going to stop you because you go, I identify with that. Whether it's a word you say or a thing you think or a way that you're framed, someone's going to nail you. And that's just how you know good performance marketing. Customer journey mapping. It's very easy to just go, let's go get the customers. But it's like, well, where and how? And are you confident in all of these things? Because you can say, well, they're on Facebook. Yeah, but everyone and their mother, including my mother, is on Facebook. So it's like, that's not really descriptive, and that's not necessarily where they make their purchasing decisions. Questions to be considered. And resource allocation. And this is, notice I didn't just say dollars. This is time, this is energy, all the decisions that you make. It's very easy to just go, can I just spend $500 and see what happens? It's like, yeah, but the $500 in man hours that you spend is $50,000 compared to the $500 that you spend in ad spend. You learn way more. And then those $500, what if it converts somebody? Sounds silly and stupid. It's like, what if it converts 10 somebodies? You've made up the money and then some, but you delayed it by just a little bit so that you could be confident in your learning. And again, there's no perfect process here, but there's definitely wrong processes, shall we say. If you said after hearing all this, I'm going to go run a bunch of paid ads and do no prep, no this, no that, you kind of go, well, there's some really good arguments for why I should do all this prep, because if I was that customer experiencing a bad funnel, I probably wouldn't want to buy it. It's like, yeah, you have to make sure to hold yourself to your customer's standard, not your standard, because it's not you that decides who buys. It's the customer. And it's not you put 100% of the focus on the customer and therefore lose yourself in the business. This is like a tango. You got to lead because you're the one making the business decisions. But if you don't listen to them, you're going to fall. You're going to look awkward. The dance is not going to work, right? So in this way, you got to have that, oh, this is what they want. This is how they want it. This is how I can deliver it. And I can make sure to unify it and make the process smooth. We're looking to avoid friction. And if you want any proof of that, Amazon. Amazon did not invent one-click buy because they just like the ring of it. One-click buy is there because it removes buying friction. What's the friction? Clicks and links and forms, all the things you would normally have to do to check out. Even if it's 2 or 3 extra buttons, how many millions and millions of more transactions happen per year because people can be more impulsive. They can go, oh, I want it. My question is this. Could you make money via 1 click on your website? Could you do it in 2? Could you do it in 3? How few until someone pays you for the food, right? Until someone registers interest in subscribing. Like, what do they need to shorten that as short as possible? 1 click is the goal, right? Because that would be the perfect scenario if you could have it. Any questions so far?
Recently I started seeing some weird trends on advertisements, especially mobile and
Mm-hmm.
mobile games. They actually advertise you not the game itself, but something else. You think the game is this, and then you ended up going downloading the game, and then you ended up getting
So
thing.
the
This is so common. I don't understand what's going on with this. You just mentioned about
yeah
the
the
car business.
the question is on about games that you go and look at the ad, and then when you download it, it's something different. I actually watched a video essay on this. It's slightly different, but fundamentally that's the perfect example of product market fit. These companies will make ads for games that don't exist, and then they'll run paid ads against it because they have a history of other people doing downloads. They have a database to work off of. Then they have everybody download it. They'll link to things that are already pre-existing, whether it's old games or different stuff, to see who downloads what and which game triggers them. And then guess what they do 3, 4, 5, 6 months later? They go develop that game. And guess what? They don't care if he's upset. You want to know why? Because there's millions of other people out there. They don't care at all. So, you're correct. Yeah, and that's okay. It's one of those, you don't want false advertising where you're sending them, but the principle of it is test the market. That's why I have people all the time create things that someone can put in email, click something, like something, engage, right? If you walk up and ask a question to ask somebody engage and you get 5 comments, and you go up and you make a statement about your thing and 100 people engage, I'm not favoring the first one because you were more specific and asked the question. I favor the second one where you were still on topic, but you got way more engagement. Because guess what? Do that 10 more times and then go, hey, if everyone's passionate about this, I created a little group. Now you've got 50 people in that group. Now you've got 100 people in that group. And now you're farming engagement. You're letting what they're interested, what they are showing you, not what you are assuming for them, what they are showing you they're interested in engaging with. You're just facilitating that, right? And again, this is that you got to kind of maintain the distance between you and your audience. Some people just go all in on, okay, well, I can only talk about what they care about. It's like, well, it's not necessarily true. You got to test all kinds of things. But if you're posting without any cognizance of if your audience even likes it, how much can you say that you're actually posting for your audience? If you're a teacher that teaches a group of students and they don't learn, are you really teaching, right? You can blame the students, of course, but the students aren't the one whose job's on the line. The students, you are the one with your business on the line. So it does us no good to blame the students or blame the customers, even if it is their fault. Not even saying it's our fault here, but it's kind of like, would I rather be right in terms of that it's not my fault, or would I rather make progress because I accept that, hey, it's not my fault, but I have the ability, not the responsibility, because you don't have to do anything, but I have the ability to change things that I do, which will then change the output. That's what a lot of this is. It's those internal small decisions. So brand marketing must-haves. Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So you have to remember, everyone lives in a different world. You have no idea who they are, who their parents are, what businesses or contacts they had before them. The playing field is not even. Ever. And businesses that raise a ton of money, when I see a business raise a ton of money, I go, watch it. You're getting really tall there, Mr. Giant. It's going to be a big fall if you don't manage those 30 million. And again, I'm a finance person, so I have a really strong appreciation for this. I have seen like less than 100 good uses of funds, meaning someone goes, I want to raise money for this, to date in my life. And think about how many thousands of companies I've seen, both in the city, in New York City, Wall Street. It's like, it is hard to have a good use of funds because you can make anything sound good. It's like, oh, we're going to do all this. It's like, well, how do you know? If they go get 1 million in pre-orders for their product, and then they walk up to somebody and say, hey, we need $5 million to fulfill these pre-orders. Congrats, that's number 101. That is a good use of funds because it's facilitating. But again, You cannot compare yourself to other companies because they don't compare themselves to you. They don't look at you and go, oh, they're struggling to raise capital. What are they? They go, no, they just have friends and family or their own money or connections or whatever, and they raise that capital and they move on. It's a different world. You just have to, it's the haves and the have-nots, whether it's resources, network, connection, and the have-nots can still win, but we have to work a little extra hard. That's the way it goes. So brand marketing must-have. So these are things that help build your brand, right? The brand that you need to build the rest of the business on, right? First, brand guidelines. The colors you use, right? The language that you use, the logos that you use. If I log onto your website and your logo is blurry, it makes me very sad. Because it's like, that shows me what you think of your business, right? If you are a consumer brand and I load your mobile, again, I don't even care if it's an app, because guess what? As a consumer, do you care if it's an app? No. Do you care if it works and gives you what you need? Yes. So if I just load your web page and it loads slow, or the formatting's real awkward on mobile and it's primarily a mobile thing, doesn't look good. It'd be better that you go, oh, we don't have a mobile thing. We only offer desktop for now, but to have the desktop work well. What matters is that it works, not that it's perfect, not that it works on every system, not that it's ready for prime time, but you will buy things if you need it bad enough, even if you don't know the company, if they can show you and explain and see that it works. How many random purchases from companies that you've never heard of have you made? And you go, well, I don't know. It's like, give it a week. Within the next week, within the next 2 weeks, you will do so. And if you pay attention to that, you'll get a glimmer, you'll get a sheen of what it looks like to be that customer, to be targeted. Again, just scroll your phone. I see it on Instagram all the time. It's my entire feed. Content creation team. Notice team is in quotes because you are the team, right? But the reason we do this is not because we're lazy. Sometimes it's because we have very few resources, but it's because it's like that whole adage of, if you automate a process that isn't working or that's a bad process, the automation didn't help, right? So the process has to be good first. Always, always, always. So in that scenario, the reason that you do it is because you're the one that cares the most. You're the one that's the closest to your audience, to your customer. And if you can figure out what works, even if it's a 7 out of 10 poor effort, you can then teach someone or show someone that knows their craft and can take your learnings and their expertise and elevate you. Most companies scale their marketing. They don't start their marketing, meaning they start it internally. They post, whether it's YouTube, whether it's on their website, whether it's on their social media, whatever. And then over time, they start making money, they get funding, they do whatever, but they have the resources to then hire up and improve their marketing. They don't go, oh, we're going to hire a marketing firm and then start marketing. Because the first thing a marketing firm is going to do is go, tell us about your business. Tell us about your brand. Do you need a brand guidelines thing? So do you know all the component pieces, but you don't have like a brand Bible, a brand guidelines document to actually build out? Because then you're hiring them for that. Fine, fair enough. But beyond that, they're going to start going, well, how's your ads performed to date? Oh, no ads. Okay. How are your posts? Okay, no posts. Okay, well, we definitely need some posts, because what's an audience going to look at? Right? They're going to say very obvious things to you and put a lot of work on you, or they're going to charge you a ton of money to do the most basic things that you could do. And you have absolutely seen an Instagram page that looks super corporate. Stock images, boring text, nothing there, 3 likes. It's not about making a page to check a page, to check the box. It's about making a page or making a group or making anything that brings the people together for engagement. If the answer was dinners, guess what? You're going to dinner every night. Start hosting group dinners. Let's see how bad you want it. Let's start doing dinners. It's like, if the idea is, hey, none of our customers will come to a dinner, but they will look at a Facebook group and they'll comment and they'll post photos of their dog and they'll do this, great. I want you on Facebook first thing in the morning before school starts, because that's when everybody else is on, because then the day takes away. So get on at 6 in the morning to 9 and make sure you're engaging, you're liking, you're commenting. And then after school, let's say you're just dealing with like moms, for example, what time do moms on average get back on the computer? That's when I want you back on the computer, and I want you posting and liking and commenting. But notice I'm just engaging with the audience. And in a perfect world, you find alignment. You're a biz dev corporate guy, and then you go, hey, my customers really like it when we do fancy dinners. Oh, well, I'm a biz dev corporate guy, so I'll just schedule fancy dinners, and then we all go. But that's not everybody. Some people, it's totally opposite. Some people, it's perfect alignment. Some people, it's a mix of the two. But notice, it's not, I would be willing to change what I do. If it was marketing, I market, and you'll see. If it's biz dev, I go to the event or I go to the dinner. I do it all because that's more my speed. But for different people, different businesses, you have to figure out what works for you. Visual assets, nothing crazy, but when you look at a website, and here's the easiest, look at websites that you go, wow, this looks good, and bookmark them and see, how do their visuals look? Are they all custom? Are they just really high quality stock? Just the way it's structured makes it look really good. And the otherwise, what websites do you hate? This is equally important, because if you log onto a website and go, oh my God, this website is the worst. And I go, why? You're like, there's so much text and it takes so long to scroll it. I go, great. Because if I then open your website and it takes a long time to scroll and there's a ton of text, again, it's very easy because you're balancing 1,000 other plates, right? To overlook it. That's why I always try and find the easy things that I can. Websites I like, websites I hate. Social media I like, social media that I hate. Because then, fragile and horrible and bad at this stuff as anyone can be, right? As an early stage founder, you go, well, at least I've got some data. Let me start testing. You can start to build from that and go, well, what if I don't know how I want my website? What do I not want about my website? What are the top 10 things I hate about websites? I hate when there's 100 navigation things. I just want to know what it is. I hate when there's no pricing. I hate this. I hate that. Your customer does too. Probably. And now it's time to test. Social media management tools, this comes later. Not because we don't care, not because whatever, because the platforms have evolved quite a bit, so you can do a lot on your own. But more than that, you don't need them. And they're a waste of time, because you could post a video tonight talking about your industry, about your offering, about whatever, and people would like it. People would click it. People would support. And then you can do another one tomorrow. And you don't have to go, well, let me check out these 17 social media management companies and what are their limitations and what it's like. That's not the important piece right now, because the important piece, like anything, like automation, is, does the process work? Are we posting content in whatever form it is? Are we doing the sales? Are we doing the biz dev? Are we doing the things before we try and make them efficient? But once they are going, once you are posting every single day, then I start going, hey, are you looking at the analytics behind it? And you go, what do you mean? I go, this is great. First, let's look at it in the platform. Then we do that for a while. And then we go, hey, we want to see how this compares to the YouTube. It's like, oh, well, we should probably get a little database thing or start building stuff or connecting things. But notice how it's evolving. And it all starts with post once a week, once a month, once a day, once a whatever. There's no unit that you can give that I won't go smaller than. Meaning you go, but Aaron, I'm busy every week. Great, twice a month. I will win. You know what I mean? I will find a way for you to have to post something or engage with something. And you go, Aaron, marketing is not for me. It's not for anybody. We are not built to be seen by millions of people, right? We're built to live in small communities. We do it anyway. Guess what? We got to own up. Do you want your business to succeed bad enough that you'll do something you don't want to do? I'm a finance person. I hate taxes. I still do them, right? Have to. Customer persona profiles. This is that whole segmenting, because if you don't know who you're talking to, how are you going to select your language? Imagine if I didn't tell you if you were talking to your mom or your dad, and I said, say the thing that would pitch them your product. You're like, but I would give totally different explanations to my mom and my dad. Exactly. Same with your customers. Same with them individually, same with them by segment. You appreciate it because you can appreciate the complexity of your life. But then you look at somebody else's, you go, why don't they get it? It's like, well, would your mom get it? It's like, no. It's like, okay, well, that's just somebody's mom. That's why they don't get it. That's just somebody's dad. That's why they don't get it. How would you explain it to your friend's dad? How would you explain it to your peer, your friend that's not in your space, but that you want to buy because they fit your profile? Explain it to them 1,000 times until you see those eyebrows go, oh, you sell those? Oh, that's great. Can I try one? Like, how does it work? Ding, 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 you've got a winner. Brand story and messaging. So these are frameworks, these are different things, but the big thing here is the message and the storytelling that you do. How'd you start your business? Why did you start your business? you're going to see commercials like, for example, on startups. We started X company because we asked ourselves a question. What if hairstyling could be better? Blah, blah, blah. And then they tell you, and they do this whole ad campaign, and you guarantee you'll see it on your phone at some point now. But that's all brand storytelling. Because it could be that they were two college kids in a dorm. Could have been that they were two rich kids off mom and dad's dime. Nobody cares, right? But the story that they're telling is, hey, we asked ourselves, there's a famous brand that's just, they're advertising everywhere called Carpe. They do like better deodorant. And their story starts with, we were just two sweaty guys. At one point, we were literally putting deodorant on our hands to see if it would stop them from sweating. Now you think about that visually, and then you can imagine putting deodorant on your hand, like Old Spice or whatever. How real is that to you? And then you start going like, man, if I was sweating that much and they were that desperate, and then you know what the first thought is? Well, I sweat a lot too. Bam, they got you. And they got you because they made a little narrative that allowed you to connect. They didn't go, hey, do you have really sweaty hands? It's like, our hands were so sweaty, we were doing the dumbest things you could imagine just to try to not look foolish, and we ended up doing it anyway. And you find it charming and engaging, you relate to it. And I've referred that brand to like 5 different friends that I know because we go golf, and they're like, I'm dying, I hate it, I can't. And I'm like, hey, I saw this thing for like extra sweaty people. Give it a try and let me know what you think. Easy referrals, easy engagement. I have never bought the product. I have referred the product. Interesting. Next, performance marketing. So again, this is the important piece here, is defining what we mean by performance, right? It's the whole, if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, it'll live its whole life thinking it's an idiot. It's like, yeah, because sometimes you got to like map things properly. In the same way, if you're posting on social and you go, how much money did you make? It's like, well, that's not what we're going for. How many likes did you get on your Facebook post? How many retweets did you get? How many favorites did you get? Platform specific, clear KPIs where I go, when you posted this, what were your intended outcomes? Oh, well, I wanted to get likes, like on Twitter. I wanted to get retweets. I wanted to get bookmarks. I wanted to get likes, and I wanted to get comments and response. Great. How many of each of those did you get? And now let's do the next tweet, and the next tweet, and the next tweet. And we're going to look at those exact metrics, and we're going to understand, hey, our performance goal here, even if I didn't spend any money, this was the goal. Then you start throwing money behind it, like for real performance marketing in terms of customer acquisition. And then you go, all right, how much did you spend in this Facebook campaign? And what were the goals? Were the goals of the campaign, if you sell B2B, demos? Because they're not going to book over the phone? Great. How many demos did you get? Okay, above that, how many demo like booking clicks did you get? So people that clicked it but then didn't book it. Okay, above that, how many people landed on that page? Okay, above that, how many people scrolled down far enough to see that button? Okay, above that, how many people bounced before they even got to the website? All the way up. And you can go micro, micro, micro. You can be very macro. But notice I'm not trying to get lost in 100 little KPIs. I'm just trying to understand, hey, my goal for this ad campaign was to get conversion. Well, I get conversion by sending them a proposal after a demo. So I guess I need the demo. So if I can get them on a demo from the ad campaign, that's what it should be. And then you run the ad campaign and you see it doesn't work. And you go, maybe demo's too big an ask. Maybe what I need to do is get their email and send them some like value add information, materials, case studies, links to happy customers. Maybe that's low enough that they'll be curious enough to give me their info and then get sold. And then you run that one, and then you get way more conversion, way more emails. And you go, hey, we got a bunch of emails. We're starting to get emails. We should get a little funnel together and have an automated message go out to all of these emails, welcoming them. If we could give certain information or resources to every single person that books a demo with us, what could we do? But notice I'm responding to a process. I'm trying to solve a living thing, right? I'm not trying to just create it. Surgeon on a living body. We're just trying to tweak. We're not trying to go create life, right? It already exists. It's already working and doing stuff. Just start tinkering. CRM and marketing, this is always great. Notice automation tools. And I don't expect you to sit there and send 100 emails, right? So obviously getting like a survey monkey or something very early, that's a great thing to do. But there's nothing stopping you from sending 100 emails. Meaning if you're like, I don't know about SurveyMonkey, great. Spend the 15 minutes that it'll take to copy paste an email, put everybody in BCC and hit send. Do it yourself. Do it poorly, but do it now. Because the people that are receiving it, as long as it's a 7 out of 10, you see things that are not 7 out of 10 quality on the front page of every website, of the news. Guaranteed you will look on your phone later today and you will look at something and go, this is like a 5 out of 10 piece of content. This is typos. This is misleading. This is horrible. And that's out there. And notice, you look at it and you go, this is the worst thing I've ever seen. And then you get hungry and you forget about it. That's the exact same thing that's going to happen when somebody sees your stuff, even if it's horrible. If they love it, though, they go, hey, this is interesting. I'm going to send this to a few people. That's what I do. And the world's a little different. Analytics and reporting, always good to track stuff, but notice I don't start tracking first. I start doing first because it's easy to track. Most people hesitate to even do. Ad creatives, this is actually building the ad, the visual. This can be hiring people on Fiverr, can be recording yourself, can be video, can be photo, can be text. And it's a big thing. It's really not up to you, right? It's what works for the customer ultimately. It's up to you what you test, but it's up to the customer to decide what they like and what they engage with. Landing pages. If you go to a networking event and someone says, oh, can I see your website? They want to see something, right? Can someone land somewhere, get the information that they need, do a call to action, whether it's for them or for somebody else, so referring it somewhere or doing it themselves, and move on. If so, success. And of course, email marketing. We've chatted about it. Any questions on that so far? Perfect. So marketing funnel development. There's really 3 areas that I focus on for the average funnel, right? And funnels are all about posting content or posting ads, getting a bunch of people that come in at the top that express one level of interest, and then using channels, technology, engagement to get them closer and closer and closer to the conversion side. So we start with the big side and we push to the conversion, right? First thing we have for marketing funnel, of course, is the content. Because if you don't have content, there's nothing for them to engage with. There's no reason to stick around. I do the content before I do the funnel, before I do the optimization. Because you can always do this. And that takes, so for some people, an hour, for some people, a week, for some people, they spend the next 6 months doing it and they never start the content. That's why I always start on the content, because your first content, if it hits 1 million people and you're like, I didn't track it. It's like, you got 1 million views. We tracked it. We can look at it. You did great, right? But you can do 50 posts and then we start tracking and it's still fine. But start posting, start engaging. Funnel stages. This is that whole exercise of by customer segment. How do they work? How do they click? When I go on Instagram and I see a suitcase ad and it goes, hey, click here to put in your email to get 25% off. It is not because they are generous. It's because they tested a bunch of different things and they realized, hey, you know what we need to get these people? Our true cost is $100. We sell it for $500, but people don't want to buy it unless they feel like they're getting a discount because of the item. Therefore, if we lower the bar of what they have to do it, and it's not buy now, but it's give us your email for further marketing and a discount, which is effectively what they're saying, signed in, and guess who owns a new piece of luggage? Measurement optimization, we chatted about it. The goal is always to make it better. It's not good enough to just do. It's do good enough, meaning do to 7 out of 10, and then post it, and then analyze and improve. Analyze and improve. When are we done? When we sell the business. Always. Everything from taxes, customer discovery, vetting, validation, brand, performance, everything continues with the same fervor until we sell and close. There's never a, we're done with that for now. No, because if your business is growing, it's going to be a problem again in 3 months. And I'd rather not something just pop up in 3 months. I'd rather know about it now. It's like, oh, we're growing a ton. Oh, we're going to have to hire a bunch of people. Do we have the HR set up to do that? No? Okay. Now we're in HR mode, because even though we're not hiring people for 3 months, do we want to start building our HR infrastructure the month we want to hire like 20 people? It's like, no. Notice your business is guiding you. It's telling you what to do. Marketing funnel self-questions. These are questions that I ask myself when I try to build a funnel at any level. And this applies, when I think marketing funnel, this is how this looks, but it applies to every funnel, even like a biz dev funnel of like, go to event, get contact, do this, do that. First, where do I think my customer gets their media / makes purchasing decisions? Is it Instagram? Is it the New York Times? Is it Reddit? Is it peer-to-peer? Is it their church? Is it phone calls from their mom? I don't care if it's physical, digital, or anything in between. I just care that it's accurate. Meaning, if I had 100 of them, what can I get? Can you give me something that the odds are over 50%? Like, can you give it to me where if we went and saw 10 people or 100 people, 5 or 50 of them are going to do what we want, going to say the thing, going to engage, or give us the option to? Good. What's the flow of organic and paid content for similar purchases? So that's that luggage thing, right? Where it's like, oh, well, their structure, if I'm selling a consumer goods, a physical thing around the same price point, I would go, well, they have a bunch of posts online and they work with influencers, and I've seen those ads. Then they targeted to me specifically. They offered me a discount. The discount led to an email. The email led to 3 other emails in their sequence, and then I bought it. And notice I'm just watching my own journey. What happens and how it happens. And then all of a sudden, I have a plan. I have a method to actually convert my customer. And I didn't come up with it. I just watched the market. I just watched my own phone. People go like, how can I get email funnels? Go on Instagram, sign up for a bunch of random stuff that you know is going to pester you, and read all their emails. How long are they? How many calls to action do they have in there? How many different colors do they use? What is it that caught your eye, or what in there catches your eye, good or bad? Most of the learning that everybody wants for their companies is out there, and people give it away for free, but it needs to be refined. It's like iron ore. You have to start churning on it a bit, but when you do, you get it all. When you go try and buy it from somebody else, just like if you were to try and buy gold, guess what? You find it, it's kind of hard, but it's yours. When you go buy it, it's way more expensive because somebody did the hard work. And guess what? Can you ever afford to buy as much as you want? It's like, no. Perfect world, you could just keep mining it 24/7. 3, how do they identify themselves and their connection to the problem? Meaning, do they view themselves as like, I'm a manager trying to grow my business and I need something to enable my team? That's very different than, I'm a business owner struggling with operations, right? I'm a low-level associate, or I'm a first-time college employee, like a first-time employment. But notice you're able to find them. You're able to figure out, how do they want to be spoken to? Do they view themselves as very high, looking for more? Do they view themselves as like low and looking for some sort of help and solution? What is their perspective fundamentally? And how do they view the connection to the problem? Again, is it, I'm frustrated because my team can't sell enough because the systems are all messed up? Hey, I know that you can be frustrated. I know that things are probably difficult. You're trying to manage a team, you're trying to do this, and this happens. Versus, man, I want to grow my team. I want to enable them more. It's like, yeah, your team's doing great, but what if they could do 30% more, right? What if they could do this? What if they could do that? I'm selling the same sales software, but I'm just selling it differently depending on who the customer is, what they say they want, how they say they want to be spoken to. And a lot of this, how they say they want to be spoken to, it's not said. It's very politely inferred or said with, nonverbal shows. 4, what information would I, and here's the big one, you need to be your customer. You can shortcut so many problems in your business if you start going like, all right, imagine I didn't know me and I met me, and assume you didn't trust me, because that's easier. Because if someone doesn't trust you, not enough that they hate you, right? But just not giving you trust off the bat, like a cold networking person, what would you need that person to say? What information? How hard is what you're selling to believe? The harder, listen, big claims, big proof. Small claims, small proof. So depending on what you would need to be convinced, that tells you or gives you at least a good indication of what your customer would be. Meaning, what are the good things? What are the bad things? What are the common problems? What does it cost? What are the risks? How do you avoid the risks? How does this work? And 5th, what is their biggest / most valid concerns, and how can I answer them well? If I was selling you something and the call went, what concerns do you have? Right? What issues do you have? This is a very common sales technique, because the person goes, oh, I have no concerns. And then what do you respond? Great, I'll send you over the proposal. But then if they go, what concerns do you have? And they go, oh, I'm concerned about the price. And then you go, you know what? I totally appreciate that. Price is always a sensitive thing. However, we charge our price for a specific reason, because we see this value. And if you look at this value compared to this, To us, it made total sense. But notice that answer came from 10 other conversations, and the first 3 I had terrible answers. But then the 4th one, it got better. And by the 5th one, it was polished. And by the 10th, it was on autopilot. But you have to go through those first ones. And notice I was sitting there thinking, what am I curious about? Like if I was hiring a CTO for my app, I'd be like, well, in a perfect world, I'd prefer it wasn't their first app. So what apps have you built before? So if you're selling CTO services, the first thought is, well, if I was hiring a CTO, I'd want to see what work they've done. I guess I need a portfolio. If I was hiring a CTO, I'd probably want to have them show me some of the features that they've built that are similar or the exact same as what I want them to build. So that way I have confidence. Oh, okay. So if I've built 10 marketplaces, I'm probably in a better spot to sell marketplaces. Like you start to think about who is the customer disconnected from your business, a stranger in the world that comes across you and goes, why should I listen to you, buy from you, do this? It's like, well, because, and then what's the because? Perfect content creation plan. You know me and perfect, right? Because it's just never there. First, content ideation. And this is years of my research and how it's worked. And again, there's really complex ways to do this. I like simple. Step 1, ideation. You get it from 2 places primarily. 1, research, meaning you go on all your competitors' Instagrams and I go, hey, if I had to look at the last 30 posts that they did and break it into categories, what's the biggest category? It's like, okay, post something like that. The other is you're walking down the street or you see an Instagram and you go, oh, we could post something like that. Right there, you write it down. This is why I tell everybody, have notes, have an app, have this. There's never an excuse to forget an idea when we have iPhones and paper. If you're a paper person, pen and paper in your pocket. If you're an iPhone person, a notepad that's ready, because ideas come and go quickly, right? And it's not the idea that matters. It is the execution on the idea. Billion-dollar ideas happen every day in this office, I'm sure. But the execution that happens against them leads it to a couple 100,000, if that. Because the billions take different work, take different focus. 2, draft. Remember, 7 out of 10. Aaron, I don't know if it's good enough. Is it bad enough that we would have to shut down the company because of how embarrassing it is? No? Good. Post it. I can't wait to see 0 comments on it. I can't wait. You want to know why? Well, I guess that can't get worse. If you post something and nobody engages, guess what? You've now created your worst post ever. And we're still here. Now let's do the next one, and the next one, and the next one. I have no sympathy to the good side for starting poorly because you're starting. It's always good. But now it's a question of what do you do after you start? Do you get better or do you just stay busy? Staying busy is very boring. It means the same life, means the same posts, same conversations. Small incremental changes over even a long period of time, that is a business worth building. That is something that grows. But the same day every day, not good. And last but not least, post and learn. Notice, as soon as it's good enough, post and learn. Because we post it, not just to post it. The act of posting isn't the success. It's a little mini success, right? But the big one is that we learn from it, meaning we go, damn, we got 0 comments. It's like, well, guess that topic or structure is not going to work. Well, let's try it again in 3 weeks. Maybe it just didn't work because we didn't have the right people following us. Let's try again. Let's try this. Let's do this. But you're learning. You're not just sitting there. Customer opinion is what matters. I'm going to say that again because it's going to come up again. And it's one of those, I say things and people go like, but I wonder what he really meant. It's like, no. I mean exactly this. Ultimately, it's not up to you if you think your content is good enough, which means fundamentally, as your advisor, as your teacher, I don't care what you think of your content. I care what your customer thinks. So if your customer likes blogs and you hate blogs, I don't really care that you hate blogs, right? If you hate blogs so much that you'll never do them and it'll be a big problem, then great. I have 2 things. 1, work around it, find something else that you can do. And 2, I just go, well, I guess that tells me how bad you wanted it. Because if the difference between you and your dreams were blogs, and that didn't do it for you, you're going to have a lot more problems that cripple your business in weeks, days, hours, maybe, right? So again, and it's not because I'm like arrogant teacher that thinks he knows better. It's because shouldn't you be doing that for your customer? Like, shouldn't you be 100%? If you're not focused on them, what are you focused on? You? It's like, well, just focusing on, does the CEO of Uber and just Jeff, Amazon, does he focusing on himself make him more money? Never. Every hour that he spends in more customers, more marketing, more growth, more projects, that makes money. That makes growth. Good enough has a very specific, it's like, Aaron, what do you mean by good enough? Great question. Notice I thought, what do you think? It's like, what does good enough mean to this guy? It means your target engagement from your prospect or your customer, meaning if you're posting free things, good enough means they engage with it. If you're posting ads where the goal is to get conversion, good enough is getting conversion. So this is one of those, we sell to investors and different external parties however we want. It's always good to pretty it up. But internally, we got to make it look ugly. We got to be really real with ourselves. So it's like, if you're posting organic content, regardless of any other words you say, the question is, what does the engagement look like? And if you're running paid ads for conversion, the question is very simple. How many demos? How many conversions? How much revenue did you get? And those things are decided by the customer. You put something out, they determine whether it's good enough to engage or convert with, and then the cycle continues again and again. Boring is interesting to someone, and I have proof. And I mentioned this before, but I bring it here just to actually show it, because it's one thing to say it. That is me. One is me standing in my apartment, as you can tell, on the left, and the other is me having a bright idea on the right. Is sitting in that office over there. Both of them were me sitting there for 60 seconds with no cuts, no animations, nothing, talking about an idea for 1, 2, 3 minutes. An idea that I had thought about a few minutes before. I did no prep. Because for me, I was like, hey, I have ADD. I struggle to get all this stuff and like plan a ton ahead. So what I can do though is I can time block. I can go, I have 4 hours for content. I'm going to output as much as I can. And in this video, the one on the left, I stuttered. About 3 or 4 seconds in, I've heard myself stutter and I went, damn, do I record it? And I swear to God, the thought in my head was, nah, nobody will watch it. That was the real thought while recording the video that got 100,000 views. It was, no one ever watched the other ones. The other ones got a couple hundred, like high 700 views, still decent, right? But it's like 100,000, then like 121,000. It's like, why? You want to know why? Because it's not up to me if I find that boring and I hate looking at my face. 200,000 other people disagreed, and I do not have a good argument against them. And neither do you. When your customer wants and you show something that has 100,000 views, great. That was your customer telling you something. How are you going to listen? Are you going to listen? Common KPIs. None of these should surprise you. If they do, there's something wrong, but it's good to hear it because it makes it clear. 1, CAC. If you can only make $100 from a customer and it costs you $500 to get them, doesn't work, right? Pretty simple. So it's just a question of what does it cost? And there's always questions on how do you calculate it. I look at it very simply. What did I have to do to get the customer? If I had to go to coffees, yes. If I had to get on the phone, yes. If I had to spend ads, yes. If I had to get on flights, yes. Anything that went into getting them, right? That is CAC. Then you've got LTV. The easiest is just all the revenue over time added up. Conversion rate. Notice we're talking marketing. So when someone lands on your website and you look at, and there's tons of free platforms that'll let you see how far they scroll down. When you see that 80% fell off before the first scroll, it's like, yeah, your conversion rate on scroll isn't good. Forget button clicks. They're not seeing the rest of your website. And I have dealt with this individually. There was one of our pages on our website that literally 50% of the traffic fell off. And we're like, there's like 6 call to actions beneath that they're not even seeing. We tested 3 different versions of that little section. And all of a sudden it went from 50% stopping here to like 80% made it all the way down the page. We were shocked. And again, it's one of those, I've lived this so I can speak to it so confidently. And only thing we changed were like 2 or 3 words. We just changed how the customer identified. And they went, oh, that's more me. The other times it wasn't me. Now it's more me. Therefore, I scroll more, I see more, I call to action more. Return on advertising spend, ROAS, you'll hear this all the time. It's pretty simple. You spent $10,000, how much did you make on those ads back? Pretty simple. Ideally, it's positive, right? But if it's not, if it's one, well, it's like, wait, you spend 10,000 and make 10,000, so you broke even. That can be fine in the beginning when you're trying to build brand, but if you're trying to make revenue, it doesn't really work, right? And you're probably not counting a few costs, so you probably didn't make revenue. Last, customer retention. Getting them doesn't mean everything. I wish it did, but they come and they go. It's the nature of the beast. So making sure that you're really cognizant that there's a great Mad Men quote. The day you start getting customers is the day you start losing them. It's like, great. So that means that you can always lose a customer. You're never going to have people that stick with you for forever. At a minimum, they pass away, right? Even if they were lifetime clients, there's still only lifetime left, right? It's the way it goes. Well, guess what? You have to think about that, especially in the earliest days, because if you go spend thousands to get all these customers and they all leave 10% into the journey that you have mapped, that's a lot of revenue that you're not going to capture and a lot of expense that you just incurred. This is why I'm so focused on getting the knowledge good, because when you have solid, deep, boring levels of knowledge, like think about if someone was like, Aaron, what do startup founders struggle with? I could just lay on the ground here and just speak until I die and I would still be talking, right? It's like, that is how you should know it. And when you know it, it's very easy because now I can talk to pre-seed founders, seed, Series A. I know exactly, again, on average, because there's plenty that I'll miss with, just like everybody else, but my hit rate's going to be 51%. And it's 51% based off of 1,000 plus data points. But now I'm confident in the 51% because the time had to pass anyway. You get to be certain later or uncertain. If you do the work now, later you get to be certain. It's a good thing. Common growth hacks. So you've seen this before, but again, I'm just reemphasizing a certain part of it. We're talking marketing, which means community building. This is why I talk about posting, because your community doesn't have to be signed up to 1,000 Facebook pages. Because if you're selling something and you go post on Instagram or go post on LinkedIn, hey, I'm selling this thing, check it out. And you post, and all those people that none of them are connected to any page, they all like your thing. That is your page. That is your engagement. You are the central point. Now, obviously, it'd be good if it could be something else that's not you. But right now, that's not a problem we need to fight with. We need revenue. We need users. If you have to be the focal point, let's just do it. Content marketing, post content, right? And it's one of those, but my industry doesn't believe in content. All right, here's an argument against it. I have a buddy that does very advanced supply chain. Like the Financial Times interviews him. He's like that smart. And he posts content. He deals with some of the biggest, most $100 million a year in revenue. That's not expensive, like big businesses. And he posts content. He writes things on LinkedIn. He hosts these little sign-up blogs. And you know what he also does? Close. There is never an excuse not to post something, because professionals are on LinkedIn and they're on their Instagram and they're on their Facebook and they're everywhere and they're at their events. So again, I'd love, of course, if this was all just pure marketing, but I know that sometimes going to the events, doing the more biz dev stuff is the way to go. Great. Go. Do the things. Funnels and landing pages, those come after, right? Because it would be a good scenario if you're posting all these things on LinkedIn and every time you post, you're getting like tens of thousands of comments and all this stuff. It's like, I got to have a place for all these people. It's like, yes, you do. Now you start to funnel people. Now you start to get them in. But notice, it's kind of like influencers are able to make a bunch of money because they build this whole audience not selling them something. And then one day they go, hey, by the way, I'm selling this if you guys want to buy. And then it converts because the audience came first. And the audience didn't come under the guise of join my community to buy something. I was looking for someone to create clips for me for YouTube. And I went on Reddit, and the subreddit that I found was hiring a YouTube clip editor. And I was like, oh, this is perfect. Now notice, I needed something. I went to Reddit. So I am the customer here. Let's be very cognizant. Here's a good literal case study, right? So I went to Reddit and I started clicking around and I saw this page with all these people and I was like, oh, this is perfect. And I go, what is this page? I went to the about section. da-da-da.com, the best place to find editors for your business. They won. They won. Because all I did was act 100% selfishly. All I did was think, me, myself, and I need an editor. I'm going to go to the place that I go to. I'm going to look at this thing. I'm going to see what this company's about. Oh, they won, right? But notice they did not start the page. It's not da-da-da-da-da.com subreddit. It's hire or whatever. They're speaking to the problem. They're not even addressing that they are a company. You want to know why? They don't care. Because they have found that, oh, someone lands on this page and goes, oh man, this hiring on Reddit seems like a pain in the ass. Huh. They offer a solution where I can hire vetted people? I should just give them a click. This is so real. This is like last 72 hours real, right? This is a good example. Common pitfalls, things to just keep in mind. Everyone makes mistakes, myself included. That's why I keep all these notes on everything, because I try to make less of them. 1, overlooking brand consistency. It's okay to change how you speak about your company and how you do this, how you do that. But if you're changing every 2 seconds and it's not consistent across the website, easy example is this. Your company started as one thing and you wrote about the company as it was on the LinkedIn page at the time, and then 6 months passed. And now the language on that LinkedIn page and on your personal LinkedIn is now out of date. And you go update the website, but not the LinkedIn page. Now you did like this little weird pivot where now the website isn't matching the LinkedIn page, isn't matching yours. And you know what you're losing? Trust. Because if you saw me and then you went on my LinkedIn page and it was all like baked good stuff instead of startup stuff, you'd be like, what's going on here? It's like there has to be a logical connection through it for the internal psychology, what makes us feel comfortable. Second, focusing only on short-term gains. This sounds like, Aaron, I want to run ads, not do brand marketing. That's what that sounds like. 3, ignoring data in brand marketing. Remember, we're not just posting for our health. In a perfect world, we're posting because there's things that you should create the community that you'd want to engage with. That way, in a perfect world, marketing isn't marketing. Marketing is just hanging out with friends with a goal, effectively. But losing the data and ignoring the data. For example, if you have a company and you've been posting all this stuff, have you looked at your data analytics in the last couple of weeks? Have you looked at it over the last couple of months? Can you speak confidently to what your audience is currently engaging with the most? If you can't, you should look into that. Neglecting creative quality and performance marketing. So you know my whole thing of 7 out of 10? 7 out of 10 is a very high standard for creative in performance marketing, because 7 out of 10 means not, is it good enough to just get by? It means, is it good enough for someone to convert? So if no one converts, it could mean that either the wrong audience, the wrong messaging, poor copy, poor assets, like digital assets. There's a lot of variables in paid marketing. This is another reason why if you have to test for 5 different variables that all touch each other differently, wouldn't it be good to, before you get there, to do all this brand marketing work the whole way up, getting all this knowledge, and then you get to here and you go, I'm not certain on any of this, but all the data I've got from there tells me that this is true and this is true and this is true. So let's start with those assumptions. I'm as confident as I can be in those, and let's test everything else. The biggest thing that should be a test in your ads should be the media that you use, not the language, not the narrative, not the way that you talk to the customer in terms of word choice, because you should know that today. And if you don't, you should work on that, because that's just the brand Bible. That's just who you are. But the media, whether you talk to them as a question, whether you put a graphic, whether you do whatever, these all vary. Misaligned messaging, we chatted about this. And the biggest one, and it always is true, because founders come in and they say, I, and I agree, and I am on your side, but we have to be on your customer side more than your side. And my job, what I do for all this, is try to advocate for them really aggressively, because if I advocate for them and then you help them, you win, because they get helped and then it grows. That's why I'm so focused on, what does the customer think? What do they think of the brand? What do they think of the ads? What do they think of the website? This is why I talk about customer discovery and interviews so often, because little gold mines just walking around all day long, and people don't want to talk to them. People don't want to talk to them, and there's all the money and speed and efficiency. It's one of those people who go like, I'm doing it customer interviews, it's like 10 steps back. Now, you know what else is taking a step back? When you stretch something, when you stretch a bow, you know what that is? That is not a waste of time. That is potential energy. And then the second you get all that learning done, you just let go. And ideally, I mean, it just blows through the target. It gets customer after validation. That's a good place to be. Happy week 5.